Welcome to the Korea Society and thank you for braving tonight's weather. This evening, we will hear about nation branding, tourism, and most importantly, why you should visit Korea. We will hear from Holmfridur Hardardottir, General Manager of FutureBrand North America, a leading international brand and design consultancy firm, and Luis Maravi, Marketing Manager at Korea Tourism Organization. Holmfridur was present at FutureBrand Genesis in 1999 and rejoined as a member of the senior management team in 2011, where she guides all aspects of client relationships, operations, and agency performance. During her first tenure, Holmfridur served as the client relations lead for engagements with the Marriott full and select service brands and directed the rebranding, launch communications, and brand management of Intel and the brand implementation and communications program of UPS. Two hallmarks in FutureBrand's global portfolio. And she currently oversees engagements with USAA and Disney. Now, Louis has extensive experience in marketing and destination branding. He's lived, studied, and worked abroad throughout his whole life. He has worked with the marketing department of the British Chamber of Commerce for Italy in Milan, and his background has taken him from the investment banking sector to retail and commercial banking, to tourism and hospitality, where he spent the last 5 years working with the Korea Tourism Organization as the marketing manager. Now, Holmfridur, please come up to the podium. Okay. And here's the clicker for you. Right here.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Am I too far from the microphone? Do you hear me? Do I need to bend down or I'm okay? Okay, wonderful. Thank you for having me here tonight. As the introduction said, my name is Holmfridur. I'm from a company called FutureBrand, where I work as a brand consultant. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about country branding this evening and why origin matters. But before I do so, I want to do the polite thing and introduce FutureBrand a little bit more. We often like to start with a quote that we really align with. It aligns with our philosophy because we believe that the future is not something that happens to you. It's something that you can affect yourself and shape strategically, and that's what we do. We work with businesses and countries to shape their brand and their future. We are a group of 500 people from around the globe in 20 offices in the Americas, Asia Pacific, Europe, and Middle East. And we think this is important because we believe that ideas and background and diversity and perspective is very important to us to have that in the conversation and development of brand ideas. Now, what are we doing when we create future brands? These are the things we do. We focus in brand building, the foundational elements of a brand, which is the brand strategy, but also the expression of the strategy, which can be either visual, which the logo is, the color palette, the imagery, but also verbal, which is the tone of voice and messaging. And then we take that foundation into the various touch points and the expression and experience of a brand, which could be in written communications, in environments like this one, or online. These are examples of some of the clients we have. We just finished branding American Airlines, which you may have noticed, which was a big project. We also did the branding and experience for the Olympics in London. We've been working with Intel, Disney, and Cadillac, and then we do quite a bit of country branding within the network of offices. We created the Peru brand, and we've been working with them since then to define the brand in the different areas of industry. Worked with Mexico, Singapore, and right now we are working with Bhutan, the country of Bhutan, to develop a brand for them, which has been very interesting. When we're not developing brands and working with countries and companies, we do some proprietary studies and reports. I'm going to focus on two of them tonight. The Country Brand Index, which is biannual. It ranks the world leading country brands, and we've been doing this for quite some time, so we can compare from one study to the next. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about Made In report as well. This is we published this for the first time this year. And there we focus on origin and what the effect it has on the decision a consumer makes when they are choosing a product. The third one, the FutureBrand Index, is a global study of public perception of the top 100 companies worldwide. And I'm not going to talk about that. You can certainly download that from the website, as you can all of these studies. But let's get right into it. I'm going to share with you a little bit about South Korea's ranking in those two studies. You see on the left is the Country Brand Index ranking of 49. On the right-hand side is the Made In number 10, and you see it's a quite a different number from one study to the next. And I'm going to explain a little bit how that happens. First, getting into country branding, this study is from 2 years ago. I wanted to note that in 3 weeks or so, we will publish the next study. So that's something also we can look forward to, is to see how things have changed from two years ago, which is the study I'm going to share with you right now. Just quickly on the methodology, so you understand kind of how we go about doing this. We are measuring across awareness, familiarity, associations across a couple of different dimensions, which is important to focus on: value system, quality of life, if it's good for business, heritage and culture, and tourism. Tourism, which is a bit of a focus for us this evening. That's one of the dimensions that we study. Preference, consideration, decision, advocacy. We do both quantitative studies and we do interviews to arrive at the ranking. Here you see the full list of countries. South Korea at 49, down from 42, so there's a little bit of a backtracking there. The total list is 118 countries, and the strongest one appearing on the list 2 years ago were Switzerland, Canada, and Japan. Now, while the country brand of South Korea slipped 7 places, awareness and familiarity is fairly strong. It's overall a moderately strong country brand, and it's gaining in awareness and familiarity. I think the areas of weakness are mostly in the association. I'm going to share with you a couple of the positive associations first. You see that not unexpectedly, the strength is in advanced technology, it's in skilled workforce, in good for business and education, and also shopping, nightlife, food, and safety, which is obviously important when you think about tourism and bringing people to the country. Where they're weak is in natural beauty, heritage, history, art, and culture, attraction, and authenticity. And this may come as a surprise to some of you. If you've been to South Korea and you have experienced some of those elements, they are not perceived necessarily well by people from the outside. This is not what's drawing people necessarily to the country. This is an opportunity to strengthen communication and storytelling around these particular associations. Quick on Made In. Now we are going into slightly different areas. What are the things that kind of promote the buying or choosing a product? Similarly, we did both quantitative and qualitative studies with this research, consumer insights. We used conjoint analysis, if you know what that is, and then we did quite a bit of interviews across various sectors with experts and thought leaders. The key findings are first that origin is a driver of consumer choice, which is probably not surprising. People do think about where products come from, and it helps them make decisions on whether they buy them or not. What was maybe a bit surprising was how important they are. They ranked number 2, 3, and 4 in terms of drivers. Number 1 is safety, which makes sense. You want your products to be safe. But origin was very quickly came an important factor after that. And people are getting more and more sophisticated when it comes to what origin is. The distinction between is something made in a country or was it designed there? Was it manufactured there? These distinctions are being made by consumers every day in driving choice. People have countries in mind that they feel carry strong associations, and the country's reputation is stronger when it excels in multiple categories. So if you have product in electronics and beauty and multiple categories, that's going to help the cause across all categories. The country brand strength doesn't equal made-in strength, that we can see very well from the South Korea score, 49 in terms of country branding, and made-in strength is at 10. And successful brands do contribute to made-in strength. So if there are organizations or companies that are global, they do kind of connect back to the country and do strengthen the origin brand overall. So quickly, the list of countries that are top 10 on the Made-in report. To the earlier point, USA is number 1 here, CBI number 8, the Country Brand Index. I think this can be attributed to the fact that there are a lot of global companies from the US that are operating across the globe and strengthening perceptions in relationship to the US. South Korea, again, CBI 49, number 10 on Made-in report. China, in a similar way, is coming up very strong here, where it's not very, very strong in the Country Brand Index at 66. So this gives you a little bit of a sense of the Made-in report and what we are looking at. We do also look at it across different categories, with kind of seeing where the countries are strong. France in food and beverage, Germany in automotive, and you see South Korea here, strong in automotive and electronic goods. So that's the introduction for Made-in and Country Brand Index. And now I'm going to ask Luis to come up here and talk a little bit about the campaign. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Luis Maravi. I'm the marketing manager for the Korea Tourism Organization of New York. Thank you for the introduction. And my presentation today will have 4 main sections. First, I'll talk about general tourism information. Second, I'll give you an overview of the process involved in creating the new brand identity for Korea tourism, the brand slogan, and also the visual identity for that brand slogan. I'll follow that with a section on the list of activities and experiences that you and I can have in Korea, including the major destinations. And I'll close by talking about some of the social media presence that we have, and also give you a little taste of the new brand slogan in the form of a 30-second TV commercial and a 2-minute promotional video. So let's begin. The Korean Peninsula is located in Northeast Asia. It is a little over 600 miles long by 105 miles wide at the narrowest point, which makes the entire peninsula almost the same size as England, or about 3/4 the size of Italy. And Korea is home to about 50 million people. We are also the international hub in Asia. From Korea, you can reach more than 35 major Asian cities. For example, Beijing or Tokyo are only a 2-hour flight away from Seoul. And we have 8 international airports, 7 domestic airports, 11 major ports, a rail system that is second to none, a highway system that has nothing to envy to other countries, which means that you and I can explore and move around the entire country with absolute ease, safety, and convenience. Now, according to the Office of Travel and Tourism Industries, travel to Korea from the US has been growing year by year. And in 2013, we had a little over 720,000 US visitors. We also learned that 32% of those are business travelers, but the majority of them are actual leisure travelers and also visitors of friends and relatives. They also mentioned that some of the most memorable attractions were Itaewon, the ancient palaces, and the museums. Now, 75% of those American visitors left with the impression that Korea had kind and friendly people, and 96% were actually completely satisfied with their overall experience in Korea. Now, I try to go back and see how far we could find statistics about arrivals to Korea. And in 1961, Korea received about 11,000 people from all over the world. In 2013, we had over 12 million visitors. So in a little bit over 5 decades, the arrival numbers to Korea has grown tremendously, virtually a little more than 1,000%. Now let's move on to the brand. Brands, as you know, can leave long-lasting impressions in the minds, the hearts of people. And so a brand is like a living organism in that sense. It has to be evolving because it has to take into account the changing desires of the people that use the product or the service, as well as the changing of the times. So likewise, the brand for Korea tourism has to effectively express Korea's many different assets and many different attractions in a way that's easy for the tourist to remember and remember favorably. So the purpose of the project was actually quite simple. We want to raise the status of Korea as a tourism destination, as a leading tourism destination. A very specific goal was actually to reach the year 2020 and get 20 million visitors annually by that time. So in order to do that, we had to come up with a brand identity, a brand slogan that would help us to position Korea in that particular sense. So we did some research, and the letters might be hard to read from where you are, but 3 basic conclusions were achieved. First, we learned that the number of tourists coming to Korea, just because Korea was affordable or Korea was actually close to them, has been decreasing. We also learned that the number of tourists that are coming to Korea seeking for the traditional Korean attractions has been steady. But we learned that the number of tourists that are coming to Korea to look for trendy or sophisticated attractions has been growing every year. Now, we took those conclusions, and we also looked at things like the Korean people itself, the culture, the history, the environment, the products, the services. And we took also a look at the direction of the national policy when it comes to tourism. We looked at customer needs, the trends, the status of competing countries, and we arrived to 4 core values that ultimately helped us to create the brand identity. And if you look at the left side of the slide, you see core value, and there are 4 words really: diverse, vibrant, creative, and intriguing. So those 4 are the core values that make up Korea Tourism's brand identity. Now, taking those core values, along with the fact that even as we speak and sit right now, people are traveling all over the world, but each person is actually traveling with their own perception, their own idea of what that trip is going to be like. That led us to our final brand identity, which, as you can see on this slide, is creative imagination. And that has been defined as a creative stimulus that enhances one's senses and provides perspective. So that is the brand identity for Korea tourism. Now, how do we communicate this to the tourist in a manner that's easy to understand or easy to remember? And that was the next part of the project, which was to come up with a brand slogan to do that. And so we now know that creative imagination, of course, is the brand identity, but we had to come up with that slogan. And you see here a summary of the process in developing that particular slogan. It was a 5-step process. Many different variables and analysis went into this, but we ultimately arrived to imagine your Korea. And I'll explain a little bit about what that really means. But this captures those 4 core values and tries to communicate that effectively to the traveler. So next, we try to work on a visual identity for that brand slogan. And to do that, we had to pick fonts and choice of colors, shapes that also capture those 4 core values that I had mentioned before. And after a lot of going back and forth, again, we came up with Imagine Your Korea in the shape, and the color, and the font that you see there. Significant changes have been happening in Korea in the past years. World famous people like UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, champion in figure skating Yoona Kim, or megastar in K-pop Psy, they have helped to raise the status of Korea on the global stage. Simultaneously, representative Korean companies like LG or Samsung, Hyundai, Kia, they are becoming globally competitive and quite dominant, actually. So all of that has helped to increase the status or raise the status, the perception of Korea in the minds of people. And so from food to music, dramas, films, now Korea is starting to be perceived not as a country that merely accommodates content and culture from abroad, but it's actually creating its own content, its own culture. And so Imagine Your Korea is a slogan that we feel embodies and it stimulates the imagination of potential travelers. So this is really our promise to tourists and visitors, that they will experience things beyond their imagination when coming to Korea. Last, you will see a slide of the brand platform. Again, it's kind of hard to see from where you are, but if you look at the very top section of the slide, they are internal factors. And these are the 4 core values: diverse, vibrant, creative, intriguing. And they are, like I said, the core of the brand identity, but that's not expressed to the traveler directly. What is expressed to it directly, if you start going down this slide, you see K-wave, K-place, K-food, K-spirit, K-style. We believe that these are the reasons why people actually come and like Korea. So these are the things. For example, K-food is pretty self-explanatory. That's Korean food. You can enjoy and experience and taste and feel that when you are in Korea. But K-spirit talks about the passion, the creativity that identifies Korean people. And also K-style, which is now or showcases the trendy, sophisticated lifestyle that Koreans have that's attracting the attention of people from around the world. Now, I would be amiss if, after having shared about the process, how we came to that brand identity, the slogan, and the visual identity for the slogan, if I didn't share with you what actually inspired those things. So in this section, I'll quickly mention what are some of the activities that you and I can do in some of the major destinations when traveling to Korea. Let's begin with Korean food. It is becoming more popular around the world. We have Koreatown in the city. It's a great location to find food, but from dishes that have been made for centuries, like kimchi, or the Korean barbecues like kalbi, bulgogi, no better place than Korea itself to experience and taste these things. You can actually take culinary tours that go within a city and portions of a city, or actually different cities or regions, and you can see the difference in the ingredients and the way food is made. There's also shopping, and Korea is a shopper's paradise. You can go from your traditional Korean markets that have been in the city of Seoul for 600 plus years to high-end boutique designer stores or giant one-stop shopping centers. You can shop your heart's desire in Korea. There is also entertainment to be had, and that is non-verbal performances. These are action-packed, full of lights, dance, music. You don't have to speak Korean to enjoy these. And of course, there is the Korean wave, where you can actually go and have fun at the concerts. You can check out the filming locations for many TV dramas and films. And no better place to get fully immersed in the Korean wave than Korea itself. There are also festivals, and virtually any time of year that you travel to Korea, something is happening in a region of the country. I'll mention quickly the Boryong Mud Festival, which is the single festival attracting the most international tourists to Korea. That's about 80,000 of them each and every year. And then the Jindo Sea Parting Festival, which is known as the Miracle of Moses in Korea. At low tide, you can actually walk from one island to the next. Pretty cool festival to attend. There are also temple stay programs, and this is a unique opportunity to be inside a traditional Korean Buddhist temple. You can partake in the meditation, the meal preparation, craft making. It's a great way to see an aspect of Korean culture that's quite important to the identity of Korean and Korean people. There's also a lot of history to be explored. You may not know this, but Korea is home to 10 UNESCO cultural sites, 1 natural site, and a pretty long list of intangible memory of the world registrations. So in a country that's fast becoming known for being innovative and modern and so fast-paced, we have been successful at preserving our old heritage and tradition and showcase that to the travelers as well. Lastly, this is a bit of a niche market, but there's medical tourism. And just to give you an example, if you have a procedure here in the States, say knee replacement surgery, it's going to cost you about $65,000 or $70,000. But if you have this procedure in Korea, it's running at about $15,000. So the savings are quite significant, and you have no drop at all, if not maybe even better service and quality, while exploring a new country and a new nation. Next, let me tell you about the major destinations within Korea. And we will begin with Seoul. Now, this is the capital of Korea. It is home to about 10 million people. And with all the things you expect to find in a world-class city, from your galleries, museums, exhibits, theaters, gourmet restaurants, you name it, scattered throughout, you're going to find ancient treasures, as are the 5 royal palaces of the Joseon dynasty, which made Seoul the capital of Korea for the past 600 years. Here we have a picture of Cheonggyecheon Stream. This was actually covered by highways up until 2003. Then the city decided to bring this back up to the surface. And now there are 22 bridges crossing the stream, and you and I can walk along or walk across while doing some shopping, some dining. This is just an example of the ongoing redesign of the city. Next is Busan, which is Korea's second largest city and the main principal port. This is home to almost 4 million people, and Busan is by the sea. So you have beautiful beaches, amazing seafood, and Busan is becoming an international city in its own right. Every fall, Busan hosts the International Fireworks Festival and also the Busan International Film Festival. To give you a little context, the Busan International Film Festival is to Korea and to the region what the Cannes Film Festival is to France or to Europe. So very, very important festival. Now, not too far away, it's Kyungju. And Kyungju is an area known as a museum without walls. And the reason being that the Shilla dynasty made its capital in this area for 1,000 years. So many of those UNESCO cultural sites I had mentioned previously are located in this area. And we see here a picture of Yangdong Folk Village, which was added to that UNESCO cultural heritage list not too long ago. Lastly, I'll take you to Jeju Island, and that is Korea's largest island. It's about 39 miles off the peninsula. It is the UNESCO Natural Heritage Site, and it was also named one of the new 7 wonders of nature because of dormant volcanoes, beautiful mountains, waterfalls, hiking trails. This island is also a very popular honeymooners destination. And that brings me to the very last part of the presentation, in which I'll share with you about our social media presence. We are on Facebook and we are on Pinterest, along with Twitter and YouTube. So if you haven't yet had a chance to like us on Facebook, please do. Follow us on Pinterest. It's a great way to just remain engaged and updated about what's new in Korea. And also, feel free to download mobile apps. We have Visit Korea 3.0 and the Smart Tour Guide. Both of these are free. You can download them from the App Store or Google Play, and they just enhance your experience when you travel to Korea. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time and your attention. If you have any questions, please let me know.
I really enjoyed that presentation.
Thank you.
I think on my list of destinations, Korea is moving up the list.
That is good. Good to know.
I was curious about you talked about the advertising hasn't aired here. Is there anything in particular that you're doing in the US currently to bring people to
Right.
Korea?
This has been launched not too long ago, and it's been
Yeah.
a soft launch. In fact, on November 4th, it will be officially launched at the WTMA in London. Yes, the World Travel Market.
Okay.
And so after that, we'll get some additional guidance from our main office as to a schedule for really launching it here in the United States.
Right. But it's being done globally then, or
Yes, it is.
there specific markets that you're
No,
targeting?
it's global.
Yeah.
It's global, yeah.
Yeah. Is there what is also interesting to know is how do you track something like this? Are you looking to measure the success of the campaign and the effort that you're
That
you're
is
doing?
the $1,000,000 question.
Yeah.
It's hard to track a branding project, but we overall we hope to see again an increase in the number of visitors from all over the world. We have about 20 plus offices around the globe, each one with its own market, and so we will be researching, surveying, and I'm sure there will be direct questions about the brand and whether that's been part of the process in helping people to choose our destination overall.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Now I talked a little bit about country branding and tourism is one dimension of what we look at and measure. And oftentimes we notice that when we start defining a country brand, it is done within the tourism industry. It starts there, but then it grows a little bit, and you start looking at other industries and how you broaden the kind of the country brand concept. Is that something that is going to happen, or is it contained or focused on tourism primarily?
right now it's focused and contained on tourism, but like you explained, it's probably down the road it will be something more comprehensive that takes into account the other aspects that make a country brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the campaign has been primarily external, or is there also an aspect of it that is within the country itself? Because a part of building that brand is with, as we call it, the
Within.
internal audiences, which in this
Right.
case is people that live there.
Right. To the best of the information that I have available right now, it's been more of an external project.
Yeah.
Though I do see where they would be doing this also, even just to increase and encourage internal tourism as well.
Yeah. I'm going to open it up to the audience and see if anybody has questions. There's a question.
13 billion went in 2013. How many came from China?
We had a little over 4 million people come from China in 2013. Yes.
And the U.S.?
We had over 720,000, so less than a million from the US. Hi.
So I noticed that you've been promoting the soap operas or the regional the dramas, and also thank you, and also the contemporary performance art and things like that. But you didn't really talk about visual arts. Like you didn't talk about ceramics. You didn't talk about other, even contemporary visual artists. And I would think that would be a real big draw as well.
I would agree with you there also, but I think it varies depending on the market where we're trying to do it. Here in the US, it hasn't been a big push, but I think, again, it would be something that if we could find a niche market for it, really push it among the ceramics enthusiasts, it would make a great sense for them to explore Korea, because it does have a strong section of ceramics, a tradition actually of ceramics. There are several regions
but even
of Korea.
contemporary artists. I mean, there's a whole big push of all these Korean, painters, and you didn't show anything of that. It was all like, performing arts.
Well, those are good suggestions to look into, and we'll try to make them part of a campaign, because it does make sense. They would be unused assets, if you will.
Galleries, things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
An opportunity.
An opportunity indeed.
Because I think any campaign is going to be ongoing. You were talking about brand, which I appreciated too. It's an ongoing living thing, and you need to nurture it and and have ideas and concepts to bring to the table to talk about. So it sounds like that is one opportunity.
Thank you.
Back to your question, comments about internal branding.
Yeah.
Just back to your question and comments about internal branding, actually, I think that's a great point. Just looking at that, imagine your career and then looking at your platform core values, to me, it's pretty complex. And so let's say the audience, foreign tourists, will see that and have certain imagine your career components and value. However, the internal audience doesn't really get that. To me, it's really complex. And without any formal or campaign or education, how will you kind of fit the gap, so to speak? So in other words, you have the Imagine campaign going outside. When you come in, people in Korea, they have no idea what it is, and they don't even care what it is. And they don't really reflect your great platform you built as well as the essence you have. Mm-hmm. So I think, as you have mentioned before, having some sort of a internal campaign is important, and any plans down the road, I think you should
Indeed,
bring
good
that
question. I do believe there will be an internal project to follow along with this campaign that's been external. As of right now, I don't have those dates. Again, I'm based here in the U.S., so I'm sure our main office would have more details about that. So, if you'd like, I can give you my card and then email you as that becomes available, because it does make sense to just make a more comprehensive package or campaign, if you will, to complement it. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Here has been patiently waiting.
So I saw that the US is third in terms of ranking, in terms of number of visitors coming to Korea. In terms of spending power, where does it rank? Because obviously from China and Japan, it's a smaller distance to travel, and I imagine probably shorter holidays, vacations, business trips, whereas coming from the US, obviously a long way, so you're probably going to be spending more on hotels and travel, etc. Where does it rank?
It actually stays at the same place. So the U.S. would be our third largest inbound market, and in terms of spend, it's also our third after China and Japan. Yes, thank you.
There's one over here.
Okay.
Thanks very much. Yeah, there was that little mountain with a kind of dish mountain, with the green.
Yes.
It seems like, sort of an imagistic metaphor, if I can get highfalutin with towards this. The one thing about Korea that seems to surface with me, who's never been there and never been in Asia at all, is intriguing, that fourth one. And with the cars I see around, there's that vibrancy, that look of the Kia cars is kind of, it's very like fresh and kind of cutting edge, that kind of thing. And but I get the sense with Korea also that it's it's very central to Asia, as you pointed out, that it all that kind of thing, and that seems to be it seems to be something that's it's so much to its favor, and both very practically speaking in terms of its economic and cultural intercourse with the region, but it's also as a sort of a symbol of Korea, and it's even south of North Korea. It's like right dead in the not quite, but it's so I think that the idea of that I think it's a terrific slogan. Imagine your Korea, because it is far enough away to be mysterious to one such as I. But at the same time, it's sort of like it's very much it's not just about great cultural traditions from the past, but it's very peppy and very very vibrant, and that's the word. So I think that I really admire the
thank you very
where you've
much.
come, the arrival point or whatever.
I appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
So it sounds like the test audience approves.
Yes, thank you very much. 2 thumbs up. Yes. Thank you.
That campaign seems to be geared toward Western Europe and the United States. Is there a different campaign for the other parts of Asia and South America? And other parts of the world?
Yes, in fact, the same slogan, of course, translated to Japanese, translated to Chinese, is being used to market to Northeast Asia. Southeast Asia gets it also in English because of the language differences. But this is being used globally. And as you may have noticed, in the 30-second TV commercial, there were several young men. I don't know if you may recognize them, but they're actually, is it Big? Yes. So they're a very popular K-pop band in Asia. In Asia, Korea is the top exporter of modern pop culture. So to an Asian looking at that commercial, they know right away who they are, and it's part of that. So yes, we're definitely doing a very big, probably the most of the campaign is actually in Asia now, and of course we're part of that. But yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I enjoyed your talk.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. In terms of attracting American visitors, what are some of the biggest hurdles that you're seeing right now? Is it because Korea is so much further and maybe requires a little more time to do properly? Do you have any insight into that?
Yes, usually it is the long haul. If you take a flight from New York, it's about 14 hours nonstop. And the average price ticket of a plane, 1,400, could be a little more, could be a little less, depending on the time of year when you travel. So that is an ongoing challenge. Whereas you probably could go for half of that to the Caribbean. It's closer. So yes, those are common ongoing hurdles.
Hi, name is Shane Beck. I'm originally from South Korea, and I got just one question about U.S. market, if you don't mind. So you said you're going to market U.S. like after some point, right? And I've been here in the States for about 3 years, and I can't help but notice that most Americans' attention is on to North Korea, not South, because of safety and ongoing conflicts, right?
Right.
So, and I met so many people, even they don't even sure between the difference between two countries. So I'm wondering, when you market U.S. Customers, how exactly you're gonna change their attention to South, the direction?
That's a good question. Now, when you were making the question, you were saying that you have encountered people who have trouble setting both of them apart. Okay, that's actually interesting. I had never encountered that. It's pretty obvious that the difference between one and the other. Okay, that may explain why. Nothing against the Midwest, but as you may know, the U.S. is such a large territory. It's very vast. We focus a lot of our campaigns on the West Coast and the East Coast, just because a lot of the people who actually travel overseas that far away are concentrated in that area. An exception to that is probably Chicago, the third largest city in the United States. So we may not get to everyone. We may not get to Kansas, but we will be getting to the large bulk, a very sizable market when we focus on those metro areas on the East, West Coast, Chicago, and some of the larger cities in the Southeast as well. But it's an ongoing process. Again, it's probably one of the challenges that we have, just being here in such a very vast country. Thank you. That's your last one, by the way.
Okay. So one of the things I also noticed about the videos is that Target seems to be a younger audience. Like, I would think the most of the people from the United States that are going on a trip, as far as Korea, would be retired people or older people, but you don't seem to be targeting the kinds of things that I would think they would be interested in.
That is a very good observation. This campaign is brand new. It's just starting out. Because we get the majority of our visitors from Asia, and because we have, again, in Asia, Korea is perceived as very new, innovative K-pop, K-music. So they're using those assets to attract them. Exactly. No, and I completely understand. As we start the campaign, as we see it evolve, there will be some tweaks and changes to adapt it to reach the U.S. market that may have an older, crowd that will be attending, visiting Korea. So that's a very good observation, though. Yes, we're going to work and adjust accordingly to the market.
Great.
Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
When Mountkangnam reopens, what are you going to do?
Gangnam reopens. It's always been open. Gangnam, the
What was the mountain that was the North Korean tourist attraction?
Is it the name?
Kumgang.
Yes.
Kumgang. Sorry.
Right. I'm sorry, but I haven't been following up on that, so I don't know that it will. Is it open? My colleagues, no, it's still closed. If it does open, it's just going to be one of those additional assets that people can visit. It's really not going to be a major, like, it won't have a launch on end of itself where we're like, oh yes, come visit this, but it'll be part of the things. It'll be like a soft inclusion into what Korea already offers. I don't know if that helps a little. Yeah.
Just one. Has your campaign studied the consumer spending of a person that would take a trip to Korea? Because people that may have more disposable income, but they may, because they're in a certain age bracket or whatever, will not be interested in going to Korea. While someone that has less disposable income, just for the fact that they're curious about it, would spend the money. So that means has your campaign studied consumer spending habits? And
Yes, it did. It definitely took that into consideration so that we could come up with this. Absolutely. It was part of it. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for such a great discussion. And this concludes the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. It's very nice.
Thank you very much.